Welcome everyone to my sixth podcast. I am very excited, and as usual, subscribe, like, comment, and share to help the algorithm bring it to more people, which helps change lives and bring Mashiach. And a disclaimer that this is catered to a Chabad crowd, or at least a religious crowd, and also disclaimer that we're not here to bash the system. We're here to make the system better, make awareness. So, joining us today, we have Daniel Yakubov. I'm very excited, and I just want to describe him as someone who is possibly more of a Chabadnik than your average Chabadnik. Daniel, tell us a little bit about yourself, or a lot about yourself. It's a very interesting, trust me.
Well, obviously I look Sfardi. I'm Sfardi. I'm Bukharian. Here in Toronto. Grew up here. I guess kind of like a Baal Tshuva-ish family.
Can we talk about that? How you're Baal Tshuva?
My family was not religious. We were Israeli. People tell me I have an accent. I don't know. But we came from Eretz Yisrael. They're usually the Russian crowd. They don't like religion, and they didn't come out so fond of frumkeit. In Eretz Yisrael we weren't from. Moved to Toronto, all kinds of reasons. My brother became a Baal Tshuva himself at like 17 around.
What's his first name?
Israel.
He's very famous. Yeah.
Yeah, he's known around the world, whatever. So he became like a Baal Tshuva. Then became a Rav. Came back to Toronto, became a Rav here, and slowly but surely our whole community started to become Baalei Tshuva. The Bukharian community in Toronto, we all became Baalei Tshuva. There was a point before my brother, literally the rabbi here, was only keeping Shabbos. Everybody else didn't keep Shabbos, but at least we had a community. Sfardim are very family oriented, so try to keep each other together. Slowly but surely we became Baalei Tshuva. My family, me also. I mean, I was a child, but still, growing up, you have that idea of most of my family is not from what's going on, right? And I did find myself a lot with Chassidus. You're saying kind of, I don't know how Chabad I am, but Baruch Hashem, I learn also a lot of Chabad, a lot of I like learning Torah of the Rebbe.
What was your first approach
to Chabad? So the Bukharian community over here especially, we were very close to the Chabad, the Russian Chabad here in Toronto, which is also doing very well, JRCC, and we grew up with them. Seeing also them teaching us and everything. So automatically, to my family, we weren't so against Chabad. A lot of Sfardim for some reason have this thing against.
You can talk about that. Why?
It's I don't really know. It comes mostly from the Litvish yeshivish world. The Sfardim found themselves lost at a certain point, that they didn't really have their own malach or their own derech that was so systemized. Once yeshivish system came to be a system that everybody's so used to, and it's like mamash a system. It's a look. It's a way that you look, right? In the olden days, you go to Iraq, Baghdad. There was a yeshiva. It was like a base medrash. You have a Rebbe, you have a Rav. You have it was more almost like Rebbes in the Chassidish world, right? Like in the Orach Chaim's times, the Ben Ish Chai, 100 years ago. It was like a shul, a base medrash. You come, you learn, you buy your Rebbe. It wasn't so systemized like an actual school, right? Even in the times of the Moram, when it was like an actual school, they also had different malach, not like
flexible.
Very flexible. Everything was very flexible. It was very different. When I also learned by a very Sefardi yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael, the old style of how Sfardim used to be was not so it doesn't. You don't have a certain look. You don't have to look like this, right? You don't have to dress like that. There was a mechubed look, but it doesn't. My Rosh Hashiva, when he was in Avrach, he wore a green suit jacket, right? Today, nowadays, you get eyes
into a certain look.
No, they were never into a certain look. They know, you even see Sfardim in a different. In different places of the world, the same. They're both in Iraq. Two big rabbanim in Iraq. They look totally different at the same time, right? One dresses up like this, one just like that. It wasn't so much. They weren't caring too much about the chitzonius. Then once the yeshivish world started to get around the world, and Sfardim also got to America. Sfardim got to wherever they are. They started to integrate, to live together where Ashkenazim would live, where the more yeshivish system or whatever started to live. They felt we're lost. We don't have this chitzonius look. They had more of just opinions. I'm Oved Hashem. I'm a Yid. A Yid does whatever it is, even though I dress up like an Arab, because that's how everybody dressed up. So it was. I guess they found a lot of shelter in the yeshivish world, and therefore, they lost that sense of by Sfardim. They never had a thing called filtering. You're learning this and you don't learn that. It was more of it's Torah. Like I need to learn it. Whatever it is, I have to go and learn it. If it was Chabad, it was Chabad. You see, the Ben Ish Chai, the Rav Chaim Palagi non-stop, they bring Chassidus. They bring Chassidus Sfardim. They don't have a problem with it. They were very into it. So I guess, Baruch Hashem, I got that also, that I love learning. I love learning Torah. I love being connected to Hashem. And obviously, I see that Torah can't be, it's not the same. Torah is not Torah without Avodas Hashem. And Avodas Hashem is in Chassidus. You only find it in Chassidus.
So just to add a few points I want to ask. So what really caught me was the fact that Sfardim had something with Chabad, and it sounded like you said one of the main reasons. Well, it's not Chabad specifically. You mentioned how they were not into this, you can call it structure, or specifically clothing look.
Right.
And so how does that all connect? I didn't quite get that.
With what?
With they're having an issue with.
Oh, so when I see Chabad personally, right? I like to learn. A lot of people, whenever they want, I learn with a lot of Lubavitchers.
Mm-hmm.
I learn to you also, but a lot of people, when I learn with them, I say I want to learn Chabad Chassidus with you because you're Chabad. So obviously, I would want to learn what you're best at,
mm-hmm.
right? You're more used to it maybe than me, so let's learn it together. Maybe you can teach me more than what I can find from the Sefer.
Mm-hmm.
But usually, they're always telling me, okay, so let's learn Chas v'Shalom. It's not like I'm saying, it's not the bash. It's just my Havana of how I see it. They would always want to learn the current Rebbe or the seventh Rebbe Sfardim, which is great. I love his ma'amarim, his sichas. I do less. It's a little harder for me with Yiddish, but the ma'amarim I love them. They're very deep. They're very nice. But I always feel like something's very chasser for me. It's lacking a lot. Why is it lacking? Because I don't have the information that he's talking about. Usually, you see a lot of the times the Rebbe is basing his words off of the previous Rebbe, or the Rebbe before him, right? The Rayatz, or the Rashab, or Maharash, or sometimes Balatanya, sometimes the Magid Mezrich.
Mm-hmm.
You see stuff that he's bringing from them, and he's explaining their concepts, which I didn't learn,
mm-hmm.
right? If I would know Samach Vav very well, and then I would learn a certain Mamar of the Rebbe that's expanding on a certain Inyan in Samach Vav, I would understand it better,
mm-hmm.
right? So I feel that sometimes there's something that's chasser from the Sefer. I personally I have that problem also when it comes to learning Gemara with Taisus.
Mm-hmm.
And in Yeshiva and Eretz Yisrael, they would make us learn the Bekiyas with Taisus.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it was like, you want me to learn Taisus now with every single Gemara? Taisus finish Shas, then he wrote Taisus. Let me finish Shas with Rashi. Let me understand first the Gemaras that he's talking about, then go into them and ask questions about them. If you're going to bring me a different Gemara that I didn't learn before, it's not so much of I wouldn't appreciate it as much. That's why for me, when it comes to Chassidus, especially Chabad, which is one of the Chassidus, it is the Chassidus with the most expansion. They explain the most harchava and hafshata. They can explain everything and bring it down to mishalim that every single person can understand, which I love. But I think there's a seder to it. There's a way to get to it. There's a build-up to it. Can't always just run to the more current easy inyanim.
Mm-hmm. Well, did you find like you actually couldn't understand the Rebbe's Maimarim because he's basing it on...
When it gets to Kabbalah especially, you can't... it's obviously, sometimes you can get to ideas of Tzimtzum, and it's obviously building off of Bachlal, starting off from Inyanim that are brought up in Arizal, sometimes the Arizal from the Zayar, or the Ramak. And then he's bringing up Chidushim that you've never seen in any Mekubalim, not Sfardim, not Ashkenazim, not even the Leshem. You'll find it only in Chabad Sfarim, about the Tzimtzum,
mm-hmm.
which those Perushim were brought up about Tzimtzum on the Ari, when the Ari explained Tzimtzum, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they have questions of Rav Chaim Vital on this whole Torah of the Tzimtzum, and then you go into in Chabad to the Maharash, had this question, gave us an answer. Now the Rebbe is bringing it to you as if he knows, as if you know this question. You already read it, you learned it before, right? When you were learning his memoir, and now he's just expanding, he's continuing off of there, right? So a lot of the times when you really read it, you don't even notice that that's what he's talking about, that he's just expanding on something or just continuing something that the Maharash left off in.
Mm-hmm. So
you just keep on reading and you think you understand the actual idea, but once you learn the Maharash afterwards, you see, whoa, no, it was a whole deep idea. What's the Chiddush of the Maharash first? You have to understand there was a Chiddush there. Then the Rebbe is meaning Chiddush an extra thing,
mm-hmm.
right? Once you learn a 300 whatever Chiddush, after 300 Chiddushim, you don't see all the other Chiddushim as Chiddushim. Right. You see them as, this is Muvan Me'elav.
So you have to learn the previous Rebbeim
before. So I saw that there was a big lack of learning previous Rebbeim. Especially...
When you say there's a lack, what part of the system are you talking about?
I don't know the system in Chabad. I don't know exactly I know that in yeshivas they learn a lot more. They learn Samach Vav, they learn I don't know, Ein Beis, what do they learn? They learn the other ma'amarim.
I mean, a little bit of samach vav. No, I'm base.
No, I'm based.
Not an issue.
Maybe I just saw. I guess the Bachar that I used to learn with. Baruch Hashem, they used to learn a little bit more.
So when you say there's a lack, what are you? Where's the lack?
Where's the lack? In Havan of. I know there's a big union of ishtalshelus when it comes to Chabad, knowing how everything's brought down, also in spheres and also by the Rebbeim, right? I'm learning right now Basei Lagani, with Rabbi Salzman, So like you see a big idea of how he brings up mamish, he brings up an idea, a chiddush of the Balatanya, of how he explained the certain, and then he brings the same thing with the miteler Rebbe, that same idea, but he explained it in a different word or maybe in a different sphere. And then he brings up from Tzemach Tzedek, which brings up from a different sphere, but it's the same idea. They're talking about the same concept, right? And they're just explaining it in different words or different spheres, as if mamish everything's going down from Ak down to Asiya, whatever it's going to be. They're mamish going down from the top to the bottom, and it's a build-up, right? And they're going down and they're seeing how things came up from the beginning to the end, or how they're building up right now. And sometimes you don't understand it when you don't learn those Sfardim as much. Or Magid Sfardim. Right now I'm learning a little bit. Yesterday I was learning about the Magid Messege.
This is what it's like a recent discovery that you can't just jump to the Rebbe's Maimarim. You felt like that you need to learn the earlier Rebbeim to really appreciate the Rebbe's.
Especially when you're calling it Chabad Chassidus. When I understood why it's called Chabad. It's a lot of pnimius. It's a lot of pnimius. Especially when I learned miteler Rebbe, I was shocked. Obviously it's hard. It's not easy to learn miteler Rebbe. I was learning with someone, and then I had a lot of the Perushim of the Rav Hillel Paracher was a lot easier to understand. But when you're learning miteler Rebbe, it's very deep, right? And you see the whole shita of how Chabad thinks, and it's so much deeper than anything else. But I asked a lot of Lubavitchers afterwards. I said, why don't Chabad think like this anymore? Why don't I see? I was learning about his backlash. I'm like, I don't see that going around, right? I see it more like if you go to, I can say Lahavdil, I guess. You go to Tzfat, right? You have people that are closer to that idea of like, they're like, you can call them high, not chas v'shalom that they're doing drugs, but they're mamish sitting there and they're how do you say the word?
Meditating. They're
meditating mamish on certain ideas, right? Which you would call his backlash. And it's such a big avodah in Chabad, and it's almost as if it's lost. Like I don't see it anymore. What's going on?
And that's it. Like there's no.
It's just.
You're stating a fact.
Yeah, it's chas v'shalom. Not that I'm saying no Lubavitchers that use backlash. I'm sure in yeshivas they probably do a lot more. They have a lot more time.
Yeah.
But.
On Shabbos, not during the week.
Shabbos. Why not during the week?
Because the Seder doesn't allow it.
Seder doesn't allow it. Yeah. So whatever it's gonna be, it's. I think every single day you should have some backlash, whatever it's gonna be. Also, another thing is, the idea of making a difference that I used to see in Chabad. I used to see that they make a difference between every single other Torah that's not Chabad, that's not from the 7 Rebbes. It's as if it's a klipa. It's like it's not needed. The pre is this, the rest is all klipa. Which, for me, that's shocking. I'm guessing maybe because I grew up very Sefardi. I grew up in a Moroccan school. Moroccans are very into their tzaddikim, right? So every single tzaddik is something special. Right? It doesn't matter who it is. It can be the Gra. It can be anybody. This is the Ben Ish Chai. It's the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Of course, we have tons of cover for them, for the tzaddikim. Every tzaddik, and we feel like it's you can't just say this one's a klipa compared to this one that's a pri, right?
But how about if
I see both
greater, not klipa?
Once you see greater, it's as if you're putting them down. Like I remember I was in a yeshiva there. We had Lubavitchers that I was friends with, and I remember we were talking about different things. We had whatever, some guy brought up something from Derech Chassidus, some random Ashkenazi kid, not Chabad. He brought something from like the Ger. I don't remember which Ger Rebbe. But he brought a nice word, whatever, from the Ger, one of the Ger Rebbes. And the Lubavitcher said, it's chagas. So now these guys don't know what chagas is. They don't learn any Kabbalah. Sfardim have a little bit more, so like, chagas. So what? Is Chabad chagas? They're all spheres, Yeah. I'm like, so what if it's chagas? You don't need chagas? You cut off the head, use the head and the legs, that's it?
Right.
No, you need it also. You need the heart also too. You can't say only heart. That was what I understood. When I learned why it's called Chabad, I understood the main avodah is also with the head. You have to use your head for avodah. You can't just be without your head.
So do you see that Chabad today, we still have a head?
Of course. Even that they're losing sometimes, yeah. Some people, not everybody, chas v'shalom.
So, has anyone, when you asked this question to other Chabadniks, what was their response, or did you ever ask?
The thing was, I don't want to compare it to things that chas v'shalom can sound very bad. I don't even want to say lahavdil because I don't want to give up any ideas. It's not a chas v'shalom in a bad way because it's not coming from a bad place. But it could sound bad to people listening, so I don't want to say it. How, like, what I'm comparing it to.
But this is what their response was to you.
I was gonna explain how they respond. What I understood as the response. What the response usually is if you're looking at it more. I'm not gonna explain it like literally specifically what it is, but it's more. What they do is they show the gedula of what Chabad is, and for sure you have rayas of exactly how Chabad is one of the Torahs that are the highest Torahs, right? It's higher than Atzilus or whatever you want. It's mamish the Torah of Etzem Lekos, which usually no other Torah will get to, right? Other Torahs say maybe they're teaching they're teaching I don't know the Torah of Bria or Torah of Atzilus, but they're not gonna go to Etzem. Etzem is something that you can't understand, right? No Mekubal wants to say Mekubalim, real Mekubalim are afraid to say that thing. Even Atzilus they're afraid to say. Right, I think also in Chabad they also had this idea to say Atzilus, just to say Atzilus, like you see Mekubalim that learn Kabbalah, you're talking to them Atzilus, they're laughing at you like, are you crazy? You're talking about things that we b'chalal don't have an understanding in, right? To say Etzem, sometimes the Lubavitchers just throw that easy. Yeah. You got a lot of Mekubalim really mad about it, especially Sfardim.
So now this
they
is
see them
probably
crazy.
Why they don't like
what are you
Chabad.
Talking about? You're just like going out and saying Etzem like it's nothing. No, that's huge. That's something that you can't understand. Obviously, there's Torahs and Torahs upon why they're saying this, why they're using it so frequently. Of course, the Torah of Chabad is huge. And I totally agree with it. But, again, explaining to me and giving me more proof of why the Torah of Chabad is so big doesn't tell me why I don't have to learn Ramchal.
That's the impression you get. Did they say those words that you shouldn't learn other Chabad?
No, they explained why they don't. So I said, for you, I'm not saying anything.
But
for them, personally. I personally just feel myself that a Yid should know how to learn, especially if he's learning Chabad Chassidus, which is a very deep Chassidus, and it has such... It's so fundamental and so... Like we said, it's the brain, right? The brain sends nerves to the whole body. Every single part, even the little pinky finger, even to the nails, right? So I think the avodah of the brain, avodah of a Yid who lives Chabad, has to bring it to every single Torah, even to halachas that are just like in Chabad for sure. They also explain the part of a pshata, bringing down to go to different sugyas. For example, you have a sugya of Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai, halachas like Beis Hillel, Afal Piken, Beis Shammai and his svara. Chabad will go out of their way. Or a lot of Chassidus would do it, but especially Chabad, they'll go out of their way and explain to you exactly what Beis Shammai's shita was, right? They'll go into it and expand and explain to you exactly what the shita is, not just in pilpul, even though it's not halacha, right? So even then, why can't Chabad go into Ramchal and explain exactly what Ramchal is talking about? Just because Chabad's talking about Etzem, if you're staying at Etzem, you're going to be crazy. There's a reason why HaKadosh Baruch Hu created Etzem. He had Etzem. And then it went down to Atzilus Bria Yitzira Asiya, right? They're all supposed to be used. So if you have Chabad, if you have the top, don't stop it there. Don't stop it at the head. Don't be a floating head. You have to bring it to the whole body. Bring it into Chagas. Explain the Ger Rebbe's Ma'amarim. Explain whatever the chidushim of the Ger of Baba of whatever they are, whatever their Torahs are. Go bring them up too and explain them. Right, go to the Mekubalim. I think avodah Chabad should be bekefel kiflaim. Should be multiple, or how do you say, not multiple? Should be doubled. It's more avodah than any other Chassidus, because no other Chassidus says that they're Chabad, that they're the head, right? And therefore, if you're the head, you have to touch every single part of the body, which means that you have to mamish get to places where other Yidden don't even get. You have to. I think the avodah of Chabad is not just to explain every single other Torah that there is in the world, according to them, or like explain what the Chabad is inside every single one, but even to go into Torah that people don't even use, Kitvei Yad, right? To go into like Sfardim of like Rabbanim from the past generations that their Sfardim weren't published and the Torah wasn't published and people don't know their Shitas, going into them dafka and explaining even there where you can see the Chassidus in it, where you can see etzem atzmusay inside it, or whatever it's going to be. Huh?
Doesn't exist?
It does.
So what's your
Not in the mainstream Chabad.
So
Not in the mainstream Chabad.
So
I see. You see a lot of people who call themselves Chabad, but they're not considered mainstream Chabad. But they do this. They do Savaida. This is what I really like. That's the Chabad that I'm very, very close to. I'm very close to any Chabad. I love Chabad. I love Lubavitch. I love the whole idea, right?
Right. That's what we're
every time I tell people all the time, don't think I'm Chas v'shalom against Chabad. I learn Chabad sometimes more than a lot of Lubavitchers that I noticed, right? But just because I don't look Chabad necessarily, right? I try to be mekusher to the Rebbe. I know kesher to the Rebbe chitas. I try to do that. Rebbe's going to be learning Tanya, learning Rambam if I can. I don't know Rambam how much I get through, but I try to. Right? It's always ups and downs, but you go to the oil. To kasher yourself to the Rebbe, to the Rayats, also to the previous Rebbe. It's very, very important to have a kasher to Chabad. I tell people it's not like I'm putting it to the side. I'm saying exactly what I see is missing. And Adrabah, to hear what's missing is there's a famous story with who was it? Was it miteler Rebbe? I think it was the miteler Rebbe. He was walking. It was always in his mind. He was walking in his mind, and suddenly out of nowhere, some soldier saw him. You probably know this shaiter or a soldier stopped him and said to him, "Who are you? Where are you going?" Right? And then suddenly he just he got out of his thought, whatever he was in it, and whatever he was thinking about, and he heard these words, and he said to him, "I'll pay you every single day to come to me and ask me the same questions." He said to the soldiers out of nowhere.
Okay, now,
just to think, what is who are you? What are you doing? Where are you going? Right? Just to think about that. So it's
applying that here.
I'm saying Lubavitchers, just like any Yid, should be open to hearing Teichacha, right? To hearing what's lacking, right? It's not like the Rebbe gave us. He said it's a gushpanka. Your stamps. You guys are all already perfect how you are. Just keep it like that. No, 100%. He said it's all in our hands. We have to go. We have to change things, right? The whole idea is change. If Mashiach's not here yet, it's because we haven't changed enough. We have to keep on doing, right? Sometimes I say if to the Lubavitchers that are very into, obviously you have to be into Mashiach, right? But the ones that are like, let's say I'm bringing Mashiach, whatever it's going to be, right? So if you want to bring Mashiach, you don't just have to bring it to the non-religious. You have to first give it to the religious people, right? If they help you, then for sure you're going to get to the non-religious people, right? If you can't get Chabad into Litvish yeshivas, if you can't get Chabad into Sfardi places,
but they actually say it's harder.
It's harder. That's the problem. That's actually the places you're supposed to go.
That's actually what I wanted to ask you. Is that do you think we're doing a good job, or what could change in the way specifically Chabad influences the religious communities? And I guess maybe you can be even say, okay, Ashkenazic is one way, Sefardic is another way. Well, talk specifically about Sefardic because that's your culture.
Well, I can also say about the Ashkenazic, for example, the yeshivish system. We know the yeshivas are very into pilpul, right? If anybody in Chassidus, right, let's say the whole Chassidus, even Polish Chassidus, like not just Breslov, Chabad, I'm saying even Babov, Ger, out of all those Chassidus, the closest ones to be able to actually explain things to Litvaks or to yeshivish people would be Dafka Chabad. They're more mepulpalim. They know how to be mefalpel, right? If anything, Chabad is the most philosophical also, right? They can get into philosophy. Other Chassidus, like Kamarna, stay far away from philosophy. Breslov has their own story with philosophy. Every single one has their own things about pilpul and about getting into too many questions and whatever. Chabad is adrabah. Even ask questions of the Beirut Olam. There's I want to say a joke.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a nice joke I heard from Rebbe Vadia. It's a very nice joke. Certain, not a darshan, but a person who goes to be shluchah d'Rabbanan, went to go be Esef Ksafim. So he went to like a place of
to gather money. You said Esef
to gather money. He goes to gather money for yeshivas, whatever it was. But usually he gives a drasha. You go to a shul, the whole community comes and he gives a drasha. It's a little off topic, but whatever. The joke, it just reminded me. He went to Iran, I think, whatever.
Yeah.
Arei Paras, the cities of Persia, Persian city. It's like simple Yidden, Svardisha guys. Like a lot of them are not Talmidei Chachamim. They're usually Balabatim. They don't even learn that much. They know the simple halachas. I'm a Yid. I have to keep kosher, Shabbos, whatever. So he's like, I'm not going to give them a whole drasha of, Taz, Shach, explain to them a whole pilpul in Shulchan Aruch or in the Gemara. They wouldn't understand it. So he told them, he says, you have to speak to them very simply. So he says, I'm going to give them a drasha. He went up. He says, Yidden, he says, I have a kasha. I have a question. He says, wow, question. He says, it's a question on the Bayra Oilam. Question Hashem. Right, this is already close to what the Chabad does. But then he takes it off. He says, question on the Bayra Oilam. He says, I was once sitting in a garden. He says, and I saw fruits, right? I saw a small fruit growing on a big tree. Like small fruit, apple, growing on a huge tree, big one. And he says, then I look down and I see these big fruits, watermelons. You know, they're growing on these tiny little trees. So it's a kasha on the Bayra Olam. How can such big trees, big ones, gdolim, osim ktanim, you know, the big ones make the small ones, and the small ones make the big ones? He's like, it's a kasha on Bayra Olam. So everybody was like, wow, you know, wow, what a kasha. It's a me'ar, it's, you know.
It?
No.
Okay.
So then he continued. So he says, you want to hear the answer? He says, yeah, it's not a Hasidic story, so it's just not a joke. He says, then I fell asleep in the garden under a tree. And he says, and out of nowhere, an apple fell off the tree and hit my head. So I woke up. Then I understood. If the big ones would grow on the big ones, he says, what would happen if it was a watermelon that fell on my head? He says, and that's why Hashem created the small ones on the big ones, and the big ones on the small, and the big ones on the small ones. And that was his drasha, and then they gave him ksafim. So the same idea is when you're explaining things, obviously, to people, it is a big idea in Chabad, especially after the who was it, the Rayats, I think, made a big deal out of it. Or I think even before him, they were very into being Mayfitz, the Torah of Chabad. Even to Amei Aretz, to people who are mamish simple Yidden, don't usually understand. They don't even learn Gemara. They don't know Gemara. They don't know Pilpul. They barely know how to learn Chumash, right? You have to explain to every single Kal, you know, whoever you're talking to, you have to talk to them in their language. Talk in there, whatever it's gonna be.
So what speaks to the Sefardic?
So the Sefardic community, you have to see what's going on with the Sefardic community. There's some Sefardic community that are very mystic. You know, usually people in the Sefardic community are very, very spiritual, right? So I'd say my brother does this a lot with his gulas. He's the Huji rabbi. Everybody knows him for his gulas and all these things. Obviously, the Rebbe wasn't into too many gulas. His gulas were the mitzvahs, actually. Rebbe would just be mischazik and mitzvahs. Person needs something, you need to get married, you need to have children, whatever it was, check your tefillin, put on mezuzahs, make sure you do this, make sure you do that. It's actually being mischazik and mitzvahs. There's points in both. There's a reason in both. Obviously, a person should be mischazik and mitzvahs. Sometimes just the Yidden are so far, right, that they need something that doesn't even sound like mitzvahs yet, right? Because the klipa is so thick with them, it's so hard for them, right? So you need to talk to them about mysticism. You need to go far, and then really. It's interesting how the things that hit the farthest people are also the things that are most important to the most closest people. So let's say gulas, right? You hear all these gulas of like, you have this rock, and if you put the powder of this rock into wine, and it'll make you not depressed or whatever it's gonna be, right? So that would open the eyes for like some guy who's totally not into Yiddishkeit, has nothing to do with it. But in the same time, a person who's like one of the big Lamed Vav Tzadikim or whatever it's going to be, he'll probably learn that in a Sefer because they have Sfardim from Gdolim writing it, and he'll probably try to figure out why specifically this rock, what's the side of it. When I see that's real Chassidus. That I see is real Chassidus. When you're able to even see in those kind of things, the things that Lichara Pashat Yidin that even learn would say this is Stam Shtos, like whatever, it's gulas, it's gula balma. Or they would read you go through in brachas all the chalomis over there, which dream means what. If this happens in your dream, then it means that, and if that, you know how much chassidus you can find in that. I saw chassidus Sfardim. The mamash go and be mevaret. What's a chaloim? How does it exactly work? What? Not b'pshat. And chassidus, a chaloim in chassidus means this or that or whatever. Our world is as if it's a chalom. We live a chalom. So what happens if you see a nachash? What's a nachash? It's a satan, or whatever it's going to be. And he's this color, or he bites you, or you can go and mefarish it in your own way, right? Who did I see a lot that does this? Actually, the Magid in Messege. Right? There's a lot of Torahs from Magid in Messege. You learn our Torah. He goes into these halachas in the Gemara of tefillin, for example, right? He explains like tefillin. If a person, the Gemara brings up, I think a Bryce or a Mishnah that says if you make your tefillin with out of gold, right, or if you put it over your sleeve, right, so it's a chatzitza, So it says that it's Derech of Chabad, right? That's what the Gemara says. But the Maggid explains what does it mean. First of all, what is tefillin? So he says one of his perushim is that tefillin is people who are machzikei Torah, who how do you say it?
Who
Sponsor. Machzike, like sponsor Torah.
Uh-huh.
People who go and sponsor Torah. So if you so that's called tefillin, right? That's called tefillin that you're holding, your mamish holding onto Torah. You have a avreichim that you're paying, right? It says, but if you make it out of gold, right? All you're doing is for the chitzonius, right? The whole idea, your whole idea is the chitzonius of it. I just want that people see, oh, I'm machzik Torah. It says then it's derech chitzonim. That's what it's called. Or he explained it some way like that. Or there's another Gemara over there in Menachos that talks about tefillin. If you made tefillin round, right? So it said not just that it's pasul, but it's also sakana. Right. That's what the Gemara says. So not just that it's pasul, it's also sakana. So what does tefillin that's round mean? So he explained a different perush on tefillin. He says, what's tefillin? Tefillin, I think he says, is the way that we learn Torah, or avodas Hashem. And he says if it's round, it means it has ups and downs. It's not always close to Hashem, or not always avodas Hashem l'shma. Then it could be even a sakana to a person. He has different ways of explaining. Circles usually have ups and downs. They can go up and down. Squares is always the same thing. It's either this way or that way.
So ups and downs is not good. Usually ups and downs is good. No?
Ups and downs happen in life. You shouldn't make it. You shouldn't make it a lechatchila. You shouldn't get into ups and downs.
Try to make
you
it
live
as
ups and downs, right?
As possible.
Right. I think I'm not sure exactly how it worked, but I remember seeing a lot of different Torahs of the Maggid Messege, and Imamish explains things that we look at in one way, and he explains it in a whole different way. Like you can go and be mefarish metzias, you can be mefarish a whole reality that you see around you. You can explain it in a different way, not exactly how you see it, right? You can see your brother saying this to your sister, right? And you can explain it. It's not my brother and my sister. It's Hakadosh Baruch Hu talking to the Shechina or whatever his name is, to Am Yisrael, right? And that's what pretty much he's saying to us. Obviously, it's in order to be mechazik yourself, to strengthen yourself in avodas Hashem. So I see that really as Chassidus. When you're able to live in your own world inside it, it's always cleaving and trying to get closer to Hashem, trying to get closer to Am Yisrael, to avodas Hashem b'chlal. But yeah, when you see it in that way, you can change the reality through what you're thinking. That's real Chabad. You work on your brain so much that you're able to live a whole different world. You're living a whole different movie. In Hebrew there's a term, you live in a movie, So sometimes it's it just depends which movie you want. You want a comedy, you'll have a comedy. You want a drama?
Mashiach, that's what the Rebbe wanted, that we should learn about Mashiach in a way that we're chai b'Mashiach.
Yeah. So the same idea. You can always be chai in mamish, a way of being mischazik in Torah. So if you could do that, going back to Bechlal, what we were talking about, why can't you do that when you're learning other Sfardim? And Adraba, that should be metakan netzotzes. That's actually how you bring Mashiach. When you're able to take things that lichara don't seem Chabad, right? You learn Sfarim of Zgulas, right? You learn how this stone can help you with that machala, with this disease, Or if a person has kidney stones, he should eat bananas or whatever it's gonna be, right? And then you can learn those kind of Sfarim and be able to explain what's the Chassidus, what's the panemius of it, because this stone is coming from this name, which has a shorish to this word, which talks about whatever. You can you can make a whole Torah out of anything, and that's the truth. That's the infinity of the Torah. That's the.
It's all. It's all connected.
The kulaba, yeah.
Wow. So from another angle, I guess we more spoke about the positive. What are things that Chabad attracts to Sefardim? Now, from your perspective, what are things that could be
repelling?
Seem to be repelling.
Repelling for Sefardim.
Yeah.
When they're very exclusive. Exclusive, is that the word? Excluding.
Explain.
Excluding. When Chabad makes a difference to show, no Yid wants to hear that he's puzzle for something, right? There's a joke.
Yeah,
Israelis always have this joke. If someone ever tells them, someone tells an Israeli, oh, you can't do it because of whatever, or like you broke Shabbos or whatever, and now they like judge him as if so like the possibility like you're making me puzzle now.
Wow.
Right, like but it's true. It's coming from a neshama. Every person feels it, right? It's as if I don't know. You have a yid that doesn't keep chalav Yisrael.
Chabad does this?
They don't do it by pambi mamash, right? They don't do it mamash like you don't see it that much, but you can feel it. It's a feeling.
Feel it.
Sometimes you feel when you have a Lubavitcher that like he feels that you're different. You're like for him you're like a non-religious guy because you don't keep chalav Yisrael. You know, people can feel that. They can feel it.
Do you think it's something that is specifically to Sfardim or something that Chabad does to everyone, which includes Sfardim?
I know Sfardim take it more to heart. They're more emotional people. That's why a lot of Sfardim like Breslov, for example, right? Because Breslov has the idea of like a Nekuda Toiva, which is Nekuda Tzaddik, they call it, whatever. Let's say, for example, this is a real avoid in Breslov is that you have to go find every single yid that you can, like every single yid that you see, find something that he's better than you at. Find something that he's a tzaddik compared to you at. So then you can mamash go, he's a tzaddik, I want to get a bracha from this person. Even though the guy's Machalal Shabbos, the guy Machalal, there's nothing to talk about. He goes, he eats McDonald's, whatever it's going to be. But the guy, Lamaise, he actually was able to, walk an old lady past the street. I've never done that in my life. So that's something that's mechubad, I should go get a bracha from this yid.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I'm going to put everything aside from him. Right? And that's the Ladun Chavschuz kind of part of Breslov. That's what they like more. It's like, why don't you look at my positive parts? In Breslov, there's a big idea like that of...
You're saying
they don't like bad smells. They don't like bad smells. It's every yid has bad smell. Every yid has something bad. Veiras or things that they're not as mechuzak in, right? Even in Chabad, I'm sure most Chabad don't do this, but you can feel it in some people that like, one person doesn't do Rambam, and they can already look at him as sukbet,
I mean, it sounds like from what you're saying that like I've heard Ashkenazim do it to
for
Sfardim.
sure. Oh yeah, they do that for sure. Yeah.
So that's
the thing is, once you do it enough, right? Once you do it enough, they have to live with it after all, right? So it's either they try to be merachic themselves from you, or they'll try to build up to be like you, right? But it depends on how much you do it. Ashkenazim, their whole system is built off of it. So it's not like it's something that can change. I seen a Chabad that it can for sure change. Like I saw different Chabads, different places. Some Lubavitchers, if they're really on shlichus, if they're on shlichus, they usually don't do it as much. Right? But Lubavitchers...
That's the thing. I mean, again, we're
because he's actually going to non-religious people.
Jews, not the
right.
Not
because
the
people who are going to religious Jews that are from Sfardim, they don't have that mindset of a shliach.
Which is what?
Which is I'm ready to hear no matter what you have. Right? No matter what matzav you're in, I'm mekabel you as if you're bigger than me.
It's so interesting that it's easier to do it for someone who's
not
seems
from.
to be not from, right? Because he can be doing kibbut avayim and all
that actually shows the real how emesdik are you to yourself.
Right. So
do you really live the fact that every single yid is chashuv for me and every single yid I mamash care about, or do you just lie because that's your shlichus to go out and to show yidden that are not from that, I want you so much and you're so close to me and everything, but if you were from and you just didn't do what I do, I would still judge you. So it shows how emesdik we are.
So how can we fix this now? Kind of transforming it. So therefore, their approach to religious Sfardim should look like what?
Look like it has to be a lot more open-minded. Open-minded, as if it's
what
also.
What does that look like practically?
It's also a derech and avodas Hashem. What you're doing is a derech, and it's 100% mekubal, and it's 100% right. When you come to someone like that, right? If I would come to a Litvak, I'm Sfardi, and I learn Chassidus. I don't tell him he's wrong. I don't tell him his derech and avodas Hashem is wrong, and he's not going to really feel dveikus in Hashem. He's not going to get the dveikus. Maybe he will. It's not my job to tell him what. My job is maybe to be me'ir with an aleph to enlighten him. By the way, there's more. If you want, you can take it. You don't want, don't take it. But we'll still be friends. Right? Because after all, Mashiach is also going to come to Sfardim, just like he's going to come to Chabad, right? Chabad's going to bring Mashiach, no problem. But Mashiach is going to stay with Chabad? No. He's going to come to Litvak, he's going to come to Sfardim. How is he going to connect to them if Chabad couldn't, So...
Well, Mashiach is a little greater person.
If he's greater, that means the Chabad have to bring him. If Chabad's job is to bring him, then they have to be...
The Rebbe was very good at, how do you say it, like... molding himself, if I can use that word, to whoever was like, let's say Sunday Dollars or Yechidus, whether it would be the greatest the Rebbes or whatever.
So I think every single Lubavitcher should strive to be like that.
Right.
That part of the Rebbe they should strive more to be like than the other parts.
So that's another topic about.
Sometimes it gets too chitzoni, also for Chabad. Things chitzoni means like they're very the outside things that like I don't know how he dressed up or how he did this, but that's not really what matters right now. What first matters is the gisha, the way that you are able to connect to others. Just like you said, the Rebbe was able to connect to everybody. It doesn't matter who it was, right? It can be a from Rebbe, from I don't know, whatever it was, Satmar even, right? He's still able to talk to him, still mechabed him, right? He didn't tell him straight up his gisha is wrong. He didn't judge him at all. You don't see you see videos of the Rebbe talking to these people from a Yidden, right? Talking to whoever it's going to be, Rav Kaduri, right? Huge makobel. It's not like he's a chassid or anything. Maybe he's a chassid.
Interesting. I'm just reminding.
There's no judgment at all. As if you're doing the exact right thing that you're doing. Like you're 100% right with your way.
Now I'm being reminded the response to this, because I'm thinking, where does it come from? The Chabadniks are like, oh, Chabad's the only way. It possibly comes from, this sticks out in my memory, of Sunday Dollars. I think it was a Baal Sulam. I think we had this discussion. And the Rebbe kind of had a middle ground. He said, first say the positive, so the sounding nice part. He said, you should publish this. It's very important that you publish it, but it's not the Chabad way.
So when I saw the video with the sons of the Baal Sulam, when they gave him the Sulam, all I heard from the Rebbe that he repeated twice, I think. He said, we don't have it. We don't have this in our Sifriya. We don't have it in our library.
So therefore,
we didn't see it. I don't know. I don't know what that therefore means.
I remember from that it's not our derech. It's not the way we learn Kabbalah through Chabad Chassidus. But you should still publish it. It's a good thing. In other words, we have our way, the Chabad way, but those who are not Chabad should be learning Baal Sulam.
Because the Baal Sulam was trying to do a lot of Chabad work over there. The actual building of his Perush, according to what a lot of Gedolim are saying, is he tried to do what the Baal Tanya wanted to do, to write a whole Perush on the Zar, according to Chassidus, Al Pi Chassidus.
But the Baal Tanya wanted to do this?
Yeah, the Baal Tanya, they said they wanted to do it.
Interesting.
I saw about by Rev Morgenstern. Rev Morgenstern is a big tzaddik.
Yeah.
Torah. So he wrote a haskama to the Baal Sulam Sfardim. One of them that they were matbis knew. Obviously, he is now. Baal Sulam passed away already, but he wrote over there. I saw him writing over there that the Baal Tanya wanted to write a pirush on Zaire. I think he brought it from somewhere. Obviously, he brought it from somewhere that the Baal Tanya wanted to and wasn't able to. Didn't finish it or didn't do it.
So this Sunday Dollars, it seems to be, that's just in the learning wise. Like there's the academic way. Like there's two aspects. There's the what do we focus on our learning? Like do we learn all types? Or do we embrace all Torah learning, or do we focus on a certain type? Is there a certain way we approach Chabad Chassidus versus non Chabad Chassidus? And then there's the conduct. I would say like the way we act. That's different. Just kind of connecting it to what you're saying, how the way Chabad approaches religious Sfardim, and there's like, oh, I'm better than you, or like, oh, we don't learn those Sfardim. Just like it's kind of connected, but it's not exactly the same. You see?
Yeah. So for example, what I would see a lot, like Sfardim, they learn a lot of Sfardim, right? They're even a lot of Sfardim are Israeli, happens to be. So they learn tons of Sfardim. They can learn Noam Elimelech, right? And they get excited from it. Right. Some are like, wow, that's such a chiddush, from the Basayin or from Noam Elimelech, which is different chassidus. And like, or whatever, Sfardim like other Sfardim, whatever it's going to be. And they get excited from it too. Torah can excite you. Torah can give you some So Baruch Hashem Sfardim connect to that. And I've seen a lot of the times that like when they go tell their Chabad rabbi about it, right? And they're already the from ones. They're the ones that come anyway to davening. They put on tefillin. They Baruch Hashem, they're good. They're not Chabad. They daven with Chabad. They love Chabad. When they tell it to the Rav, when they tell it to the rabbi, that's like a Chabad rabbi, a shliach, or any Chabad. Like here in Toronto, you have everywhere. We're all integrated. Baruch Hashem, we're all together. We see everybody around. So you want to share a chiddush, right?
Yeah.
That usually the Sefardi would go to like, I don't know, Litvak Yeshiva or a kol where you can tell any avrach, this chiddush, and they'll be like, wow, that's interesting, Now you're gonna tell it to a Lubavitcher, and the Lubavitcher's like, you tell him where it's from, right? So you tell him, I found it in the, I don't know, Bas Ayin, or something that he read somewhere else, some other sefer, right? That usually Chabad doesn't learn that much. He'll be like,
from outside of Chabad.
yeah. So just be like, oh, that's cute. You know, it's just like,
Right,
you already
get
feel
what
right
you're
away.
saying.
It's like I have something better to give you. You know, like
So
as if
you
it
think
doesn't
it's a
excite me too
problem?
much. I do, yeah. If Lubavitchers were able to learn that and find the Chassidus in that, like I was saying before, finding Chassidus in everything, especially in other Torah, right? It's Torah after all, so find Chassidus in that too. If you're able to hear it, and obviously be a thinker like Chabad's supposed to be, right? And try to be mekasher to something you learned. It's like, wow, you know, that actually explains something that I just learned from the Baal Tanya's mamar and Likutei and whatever Likutei Torah, you know, on the parasha. He actually says something that is kosher to this, or you can expound on it because everything really is kosher. You can explain everything. You just have to be a thinker. You have to be a thinker and say like, wow, that's interesting. I'm gonna look at maybe in Chabad. There's also something like that. You can also connect it to Chabad, right? But don't, you know, say, oh yeah,
Put it down.
that's
I
this
know
cute,
what you're saying.
right? It's even a feeling. You don't have to say it even. It's
so
a feeling.
crazy.
People feel it.
Yeah, I know you. I know
You're putting me. It's called sug bet in Hebrew. It's like a second level. You know, like economy class.
Right. I think one of the reasons, it doesn't explain why they're giving a bad feeling, but one of the reasons is that we have already so much. Halavai.
That's for sure. That's true.
Halavai, all Chabad
That's true.
all of the Rebbe Sichos.
That's true. That's where the first part comes. The first thing that I was talking about. So if there's so much Chabad, start from the beginning. Get it proper. You know, understand what's going on. The Rebbe is not, if you're going to only learn Chabad, right? And start from the beginning. I'm saying start from Magid Messege, then go to Balatanya. At least most of them are Amarim, right? They're their main Sfardim. You don't have to go through all Likutei Torah and all Torah or every single Mamar of every single Rebbe. No, but learn a lot of them. When you understand their Torah, when you actually mafnim it, when you put it inside you, you actually understand it and try to live it, you start understanding things differently. I personally started seeing a lot more or through Chabad and every single other sefer that I'm learning. And I'm shocked how other Lubavitchers don't see it. Why, when you hear a chiddush from somewhere else, from Ramchal, right? Like, I talked some Lubavitchers about Ramchal, it's like as if it doesn't exist, you know, it's like, who's Ramchal? I know it was a nice Musar sefer, but Ramchal, you know how much his Torah is his Torah is very, very close to Chabad, very. They say, fine, you can say that it's the Chachma D'Atzilus, but it's not Keter D'Atzilus. I don't know what you're going to call it, okay?
Right.
Most of the people who say that, a lot of the things, like, they don't even understand what they're talking about. When they're saying Chachma D'Atzilus, Keter D'Atzilus, why is it called Keter D'Atzilus? Why is it called Chachma D'Atzilus? Why would Ramchal be there? Why would other Sfardim be somewhere else? I'm saying, whatever you want to explain, it's still Torah. Imagine being able to take whatever Keter D'Atzilus and bringing it down to Chachma D'Atzilus, bringing it down to Ramchal's Torah, being able to see, oh, what's missing from Ramchal? That would be more. It's, you hear a chiddush from Ramchal, and you're able to see like, wow, okay, so that explains one thing, but there's still a question. Now comes Chabad Chassidus to answer it. Then it would be a lot more, or it would be a lot more light, I guess.
For sure.
You see it a lot more as not, it's not excluding anymore. They're all one. Kul Achad. It's a very famous statement people say, Echad Diber Hashem, Shnayim Zu Shamati.
What does that mean?
Hashem said one thing.
But I heard two things.
But I heard two things. Right? He said one thing, and I heard Beis Shammai Beis Hillel. He said one thing, I heard Braslov and Chabad. I heard Ramchal and Chabad. As if they're two separate things, and I picked one. If you heard two, understand that really Hashem talked one, and they're both connected to each other. Elu ve'elu divrei Elokim chaim.
So that was one thing that we could fix, is the exclusiveness.
Exclusiveness? Is that a thing?
Possibly. Basically, we feel that we're better and we don't learn like other people's Torah.
Which, especially from a Chassidus that comes from a Magid Messege, it sounds very not Magid Messege type, because Magid Messege, the first thing is bittul. First thing is your mevotel, right? Not just to Hashem, mevotel also to one another too, to Am Yisrael. All of Am Yisrael, they all have their chidushim that they have to bring out, even if they weren't brought up Chabad.
Yeah. So actually, because I don't know if we'll have time for this time, but I want to ask you, more in the positive sense, what's something you really like about Chabad that really attracts you? It could be, I don't know if that was the thing that started in the first place. But
I've been saying B'chal, the whole, I hope whoever's
or
hearing it also,
yeah.
you also, I've been saying a lot of positive things Baruch Hashem about Chabad, that I love how it's very depth, like deep in thought. It practices thinking deeply, practices thinking, being able to be mekasher inyan l'inyan, right? To connect inyanim, different inyanim, to see depth, especially when I'm learning one thing, and like you can learn, once you learn a mimer, for example, of any Rebbe it's going to be, right? You learn the mimer properly, you understood it, right? It's really inside you. You can't not see it anymore. Everything you live in is mamish that mimer. It's there. It's just.
You only see this in Chabad Chassidus?
No, I see it in a lot, but especially in Chabad, especially because it's so large and so big. It's like it's never ending. There's so much to learn. There's so much more to go into, right? There's so much to see, and I didn't see it only in Chabad. I saw it in a few others, but I can say the others that I saw it in was because they're mushba from Chabad. So you can say like Rav Tzadok HaKohen, he has like very interesting Torahs also that. Also, they're not easy to understand, and it's not like you mambish after you read one thing, you that's all you see. Maybe in the longer things that he wrote, but he's mushba from Chabad, very mushba from Chabad. You can tell that he's mushba from Chabad.
Yeah, most people kind of get the unika from Chabad, but they don't give credit to Chabad. That's
a lot of people do. It's shocking. People, how I heard it, Rav Kook, which I know Chabad doesn't have so much of a. They're not the best terms with him, but Rav Kook himself, when he said that he's giving Torah or whatever, he said that his Torah is all from introductions of Chabad, al pi hagdamas Chabad, all the Malatanyas, Sfardim and Ma'amarim, and all the other Rebbeim, at least the ones that he had, whatever he learned, he says they're all al pi hagdamas Chabad. And it also makes sense, like I told you, because Rav Kook came from a world of Litvaks. He got smicha from the Netziv and from the Leshem, right? So in Pshat and inside, by two Litvaks, by two Misnagdim, Lichara, or people who are not so fond of Chassidus, or not so into Chassidus, bringing Chassidus.
Yeah.
But he says that everything that he's explaining is al pi hagdamas Chabad. Why? Because probably Chabad was the only Chassidus that can go into Pilpul, that can go into Kasha Teretz, that can actually get into depth and thought, that answered his questions, right? The Litvaks, all they have is just questions, if they really think about it. Other than that, maybe now they're also getting a little chitzoni. All they're thinking of is just, my Rebbe said no. So,
you need to use your head.
Yeah, you need to use your head. You need to think. You need to ask questions. You need to give answers.
So you're mentioning more of the academic aspect of Chabad. What about the more practical aspect?
So that's especially from the current Rebbe. The current Rebbe, Baruch Hashem, his when it comes to the Messege, that he brought it down to Messege. A lot of things Messege. Exactly. Everything is Messege, which is very good. It's Mamashit. That's how he built an empire, right? Chabad used to become a Yechidim. It's Yechidim. It was Yechidim. It was, even Rabbi Nachman said in the times of Baal Tanya, Sarah Elef. It wasn't, you won't have huge revavis of people yet, because his avodah was just, it was very inside yourself. You're living your own world. It's a whole world inside you. And it's not really going out there yet and doing the Ma'aseh. Until it got to the Rebbe. The Rebbe Mamish brought everything to the Ma'aseh. Go out, do things, you know. That kind of is backlash, by the way, from Chassidim. That shocks me. You know, that's like, wow.
There's someone who's so in his brain to go out and shlichus.
Yeah, like, just, you learn Chassidus from different Chassidim, right? I learned from a lot of Chassidim, a lot of Chassidus. All of them are talking about Rebbes. All of them are talking about your tzaddik. Your tzaddik says something, you have to be misbattle to the tzaddik and do whatever has to be, right? But you never see them doing it like ad kedei kach, like Chabad does, which is something that's like mamish. I saw that's really misbattle to a tzaddik, to your Rebbe, whatever it is, to misbattle to a tzaddik, and that's how you have to be misbattle to Hakadosh Baruch Hu, to mamish be able to throw yourself to the other side of the world, just to do what the.
What about more in the? So that's in more what the Rebbe did. What about in practical?
And Chassidim?
The way you see it from your eyes.
And the Chassidim.
What? Yeah.
And the Chassidim.
Like,
you see a lot more life.
You walk into a Chabad shul, or you go in the general Chabad life, wherever you encounter Chabad.
Yeah. So I'll say for a lot of for Chabad compared to other Ashkenazim, I'm gonna say probably, Ashkenaz is huge. You have Polish You have Chassidim, you have Sfardi, you have like a Sfard Nusach, just like Heimish or whatever they are.
Yeah.
You have Litvak, you have Yeshivish, you have like modern Orthodox, whatever. All these different shuls, and I guess parts in Ashkenaz, Chabad is probably the most lively of them. Other than maybe Breslov also. But I'm saying Chabad, you can mamish see the people with life. They have more chiyus, especially in tefillah. Even though the tefillah is quick, but
Right.
usually in davening, that was the thing that it is pretty quick. But other than that, you see shluchim are very invested in what they're doing, and they're mamish going. They're giving a lot of chiyus. That's what people like. They like that idea of a person's. He's trying to strive. He's trying to go. He's trying to run. He's trying to whatever. And that's what people sometimes need. They don't need pep talk. They don't need people to tell them, let's go, let's fight. They just need to see someone doing it. They just need to see someone that's ready to go through anything, right? And is ready to just get up every morning and do whatever he has to do. Go to the mikvah, go daven, learn before, and just a person that's running. And you see it a lot in Chabad. I'm just saying according to what I see around. I don't see a lot of Lubavitchers, sitting around and just, what am I going to do today? It's not like those kind of people.
It's nice to hear a positive. Possibly,
which I think it's from the Chassidus itself. It's the very life. You're happy with what you're doing. You know what you're doing.
Could you compare possibly to fire? That fire, it says in Ayim, I believe, that fire creates an attraction. That people are attracted to fire. So fire is like energy, like chiyus.
Yeah.
So it's all connected. That if Chabad is on fire, he's alive.
So ate it like a straw. Yeah.
And it applies to anyone, not just Sfardim. Everyone appreciates life. There's no one who doesn't like life. Everybody appreciates life. Yep.
Mamish. Everybody likes life. And it's mamish. This is the tikkun, by the way, for Chabad Chassidus. Chabad Chassidus was mavis. What's mavis? What was the first klal that he got? The first curse was be'etziv. Was beitzavon tochal lechem. With sadness, you're gonna eat bread.
Yes.
And that's what death means. That's what death is. So what's
coldness?
So what's life?
It's
chiyus. It's living. It's
amazing.
Simcha, jumping.
So we have to wrap up now. Is there what are your last words you want to say? Any last words?
For Lubavitchers, keep on going, strive, keep doing what you're doing, love one another, love everybody else. Don't get into politics. There's no point of politics. That's another thing. But yeah, going, striving, learning more, teaching more, being open to everybody, open-mindedness. I think that's something that Chabad really did in the beginning, especially. That's what Chabad was in the beginning. To see a Chassidus that learned so much philosophy was shocking. No Chassidus learns philosophy like that.
Right.
Maybe Ishbitz, but that's also much by Chabad a lot. But to learn philosophy, to be able to talk like that, to ask questions on Hashem, who does that?
Let's get back into that.
Yeah.
Very nice. Okay, thank you, Yaakov, for your time, and maybe we'll do a part 2.
Bezrat Hashem.
Mashiach now.
Mashiach now. Today was really